This day in sports history.
Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
It's This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Network. It's September 21st, and on this day in 1970, Monday Night Football debuted. And with that groovy music, Monday Night Football got rolling. The idea for Monday Night Football came straight out of the commissioner's office. Pete Rozelle saw the popularity of baseball's Game of the Week, and he wanted a similar showcase for the NFL. The league had contracts with NBC and CBS at this point, and those networks were more than happy to show games on Sunday. But these were regional telecasts, and Rozelle wanted a national showcase for his event. So he offered his Monday night primetime idea to both NBC and CBS, but neither wanted to mess with their primetime schedules. At this point, network television was everything, and the Monday through Friday primetime lineup was very rich soil. Putting a football game between two teams that had no connection to 99% of the country seemed like a disaster ratings-wise to the networks. But ABC was not doing very well in the ratings. In fact, they were running a distant third in a three-network race. But there actually was a fourth participant in these negotiations. Despite being last in the ratings, ABC was not exactly overly eager to test out this new concept for a whole season, and so Rozelle started talking to Howard Hughes about using his fledgling Howard Hughes Sports Network. ABC executives figured they were being suckered, but they had an early case of FOMO and signed on to put the NFL in prime time on Monday night. Now, Rozelle had tested the idea of a midweek game back in 1964 in a game between Green Bay and Detroit. It wasn't televised, but the crowd that came out to watch it exceeded everybody's expectations, and so Rozelle felt strongly that his idea would work. With the merger of the AFL and NFL going into effect in 1970, the time was ripe for something new, and ABC was at last willing to give it a shot. So on this night in 1970, the New York Jets played the Cleveland Browns. There was some awkwardness in the broadcast debut, such as a split screen between Howard Cosell on the field and Keith Jackson in the broadcast booth, and they were instructed to act like they were in the same room and talking to each other. And then, before Howard introduced the analyst for the game, Don Meredith, well, they showed 30 seconds of Meredith as the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, getting his clock cleaned by every defensive end and linebacker in the game. Meredith wasn't too pumped about that video montage, and he launched into a discussion of the two quarterbacks playing on this night, ignoring Cosell. But the number of people who tuned in proved Rozelle right. A third of American televisions were tuned into this game, and it would become a ratings winner for ABC. Monday Night Football was a huge innovator as well. They showed highlights of all the NFL games from the day before. Now that was huge because, well, there wasn't any other place that you could see it. No ESPN, no cable channels, no YouTube, no 24-hour news stations. Monday Night Football focused on more than just the game, too. Sure, the game was the centerpiece, but there was more. They had three guys in the booth, for one. They had rock stars for guests. Literally, in 1974, John Lennon was interviewed by Cosell and was amazed at what a Monday Night Football game atmosphere was like, saying it made a rock concert seem like a tea party. Of course, in 1980, it would also be Cosell who told the world that Lennon had been gunned down in front of his New York apartment. And one of the big differences here, since ABC only had the one game each week, well, they could devote a lot more of the resources to the broadcast than NBC or CBS, who had to cover several games around the country. and ABC incorporated more cameras to catch all the action on the field. They rolled out special graphics packages, and they were the first to actually show the clock on the screen. Now, what happened in the game on this night? Well, Keith Jackson called the play-by-play, Cosell and Meredith gave analysis, and they watched the Browns beat the Jets 31-21. Cleveland took a 21-7 lead at the start of the second half after a 95-yard kickoff return. The Jets rallied, and they cut the Browns' lead to 3 in the fourth, but a pick-six thrown by Joe Namath led to a Billy Andrews touchdown and the final margin of victory. And Monday Night Football was off and running, and it would run exclusively on ABC until 2005. Since we're talking about innovation, let's go to this day in 2008 when the Wildcat offense became a staple of the Miami Dolphins and soon for several teams around the NFL. Now, first off, if you're not familiar with the Wildcat, it was simply a direct snap to the ball carrier with the quarterback split out wide. Now, it should be noted that Miami was not the first team to actually use the Wildcat. Dolphins offensive coordinator Dan Henning had experimented with it when he was the OC with the Carolina Panthers, but previously it was used once or twice in a game and seen more as a trick play than a regular part of the offense. So that's what Miami did in the third week of the season in a game with New England. The Dolphins had been a horrible team the year prior, and that's being nice. They were the worst team in the league with a 1-15 record. If it hadn't been for an overtime win against Baltimore in Week 14, they would have been winless. And they had also started off the year with back-to-back losses in 2008. And so the Dolphins were searching for anything that could get their anemic offense moving, especially against the Patriots. Now, New England was playing without Tom Brady, who had torn his ACL in the season opener, and he missed the rest of the season. Instead, it was Matt Castle who got the start. That may have also figured into how this one turned out, but let's just go with the Wildcat being the main reason. In the first quarter, the Dolphins were threatening to score. Ronnie Brown took a direct snap, faked a handoff to Ricky Williams, and he scored from 2 yards out. Brown's second touchdown of the day came on a regular Chad Pennington handoff, but the Wildcat made another appearance in the second quarter when Brown took the direct snap and handed off to Ricky Williams for a big gainer down to the 5-yard line. A few plays later, Brown faked another handoff and sprinted in for his third touchdown of the day. Up 21-7 in the third quarter, Henning showcased the diversity of the Wildcat by letting Ronnie Brown throw the football. He went play action, rolled to his left, and then hit Anthony Fasano for a 19-yard touchdown strike. By the fourth quarter, the Patriots were completely baffled. Brown took another direct snap, found a hole, and then raced 62 yards for his fourth rushing touchdown of the day, 3 from the Wildcat formation, and he also had a touchdown pass. He finished with 17 carries and 113 yards. The Dolphins won 38-13, snapping the Patriots' 25-game home winning streak. Now, is this the only reason that the Dolphins went from 1-15 the year before, turned an 0-2 start in 08 into an 11-5 regular season and a trip to the playoffs? That may be giving it a little bit too much credit, but it was certainly part of the process into the greatest improvement from one season to the next in NFL history. On this day in 1985, the Baylor Bears came up with a big upset in college football with a 20-13 win over number 3 Southern Cal. The Bears were not supposed to be very good. They'd been picked to finish 9th in the Southwest Conference before the season even started. They turned out to be a pretty decent football team under Grant Taft. Baylor led 10-7 at the break in this one. They stretched it out to a 17-7 lead, and then they hung on to win 20-13. Taft called this the biggest win of his college coaching career. So either the guys doing the preseason prognostication were not very good at peering into the future, or this game had a drastic effect on both teams. Baylor went on a 6-game winning streak. They finished the season with a 9-3 record and a win in the Liberty Bowl. The third-ranked Trojans would wallow through a tough year, finish with a 6-6 record and a loss in the Aloha Bowl. And I'll finish off today's episode with what happened on this day in 1975. that you have no doubt benefited from at any live football game you've been to in the last 49 years. For the first time during an NFL game, the head ref was equipped with a wireless mic to announce penalties and clarify complex calls on the field. The NFL was the first league to adopt the new technology. Time now for today's non-sports fun fact. In filming the movie Rocky IV, Sylvester Stallone insisted that Dolph Lundgren hit him for real to make it look as real as possible. A punch to Stallone's chest during one of the scenes sent Stallone to the ICU for 9 days. That's all I've got for you today. This and every episode of This Day in Sports History is researched, written, voiced, and produced by me, Steve White. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another edition of This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.